the news.
So this is probably the big story this week. And given that I live here, I have to talk about it, I suppose. So I'll say this now. This is nothing but a distraction, given, and we'll get more into this later, but Trump feels that DC has high crime, and he is the one that needs to clean it up. So
tough on crime.
So he has deployed the National Guard in an attempt to take on the crime that exists.
Kid State. Oh, sorry, that's the last time.
Sure. So let's go into the local news to see our take, and then we'll talk more about it.
Yes, sir.
Well, tonight, thousands of D.C. residents are worried about their futures as the nation's capital prepares for this influx of federal agents and National Guard troops. Earlier today, some residents held a free D.C. protest to express their anger and frustration. The demonstrations at DuPont Circle lasted well into the evening. News 4's Walter Morris was there, and he joins us live. So, Walter, I'm just curious, what did residents have to tell you?
Well, Sean, there were dozens out here and many in the crowd saying they disagree with the president's messaging, telling me they feel safe, they feel like crime is going down. However, tonight, not everyone feels that way. Dozens of D.C. residents and activists hitting the streets with a clear message for the commander-in-chief.
Crime is down. That's a lie that they're concerned about crime. They're distracting us.
This demonstration starting in DuPont Circle Monday evening.
Stand up, America! I'm really terrified.
Many, like Marissa Pinot, coming to voice their concerns about the president's plan to federalize the city's police department and activate hundreds of National Guard troops in the district.
I'm worried that this city is first, and New York and San Francisco and Los Angeles and Chicago are next.
We don't need the National Guard on our street. Statistics show that crime has been going down.
This demonstration in March coming hours after this Free DC rally in front of the White House, while some lifelong Washingtonians say they're in favor of the federal takeover.
I'm happy that Trump is going to have this have his department take over the police department. I think it's needed. I think we will have some results.
Leroy Thorpe founded the group Citizen Organized Patrol Efforts, hitting the streets of Chinatown in red hats with their violence prevention efforts.
And I think Donald Trump really wants to clean it up, and I'm all for it.
DC Council saying in a statement, this is a manufactured intrusion on local authority. Violent crime in the district is at the lowest rates we've seen in 30 years. Our local police department is the best in the country, and it is our police officers who should be leading the efforts to keep our community safe, not the National Guard.
You know, this namby-pamby response that, oh, crime is down. No, it isn't down for the people who are victimized by crime.
Monday, U.S. Attorney for D.C., Janine Pirro, pushing back on claims that crime is getting better in the
smaller
district.
shoulder pads.
Last year, we had, or the year before, we had the fourth highest murder rate in the country.
What is that? Dude,
Why
you got a fucking coat hanger stuck in there?
The fact that crime has gone down. Gone down for what? Gone down for when? Crime is way too high in the district.
While longtime residents like Daniel Brewer say there's no need for the feds here in his neighborhood.
Not at all. I feel like crime's gotten better over the last few years since pandemic.
I'm back out here live and prepare to see more protests like those. Organizers say they're now working on planning weekly demonstrations. Reporting live in the district, Walter Morris, News 4.
All right, Walter, thank you.
Here's my quick take on this before we continue. Reef, I'm going to ask you, the family.
What? Say again?
Crime is...
Yes?
There's a crime is usually a correlation to what?
I'm gonna guess that.
For anyone in the chat, huh?
You know, we're gonna talk about class. We're gonna talk about race. We're gonna talk about both. We're gonna talk about homeless. We're gonna talk about the unhoused. We're gonna talk about people who need to eat. We're gonna talk about
So that's all under the umbrella of what?
Capitalisms.
Capitalism.
You know? Fascism.
Sure.
What am I missing?
Thinking too much. Like,
what am I missing?
Think homelessness.
Sure.
Think homelessness. Like,
yes.
And that's tied to what?
The money, class. P.
Edgar's got it.
Poverty. Sure. Right.
There you go. So
yeah.
So right. So crime is tied to poverty. So if Trump really wanted to solve crime, like, you know, I don't know, maybe ensure that the homeless are housed, or, you know, and I'm just saying that in general, maybe offer people health care, maybe, I don't know, paying people more, given that now, due to its tariffs, things are going to cost more. You know, but no, he's not. Look, I made this argument. Like, if Trump was really that concerned about the Epstein files, do something nice. Like, give us universal health care. I'll look the other way. Like, like, do something nice to the people, and people will forget that shit within minutes, you know? But, but in all seriousness, like, it's funny, but I say that because this is the same issue with Democrats as well, and they claim to be better. Like, they never think about the core issue of the problem that they allegedly try to fix. It's always, oh, we're going to either show you your my brute strength in the case of to deal with the problem, or in the case of Democrats, oh, we're going to solve this problem, but for a small percentage of the population, and because that's all we can do. You know, so, but again, I think it's just kind of funny that Trump is just thinking like, in order to solve more crime, in order to solve crime, we need more armed forces.
Yeah.
Which
doesn't DC have like the fucking highest paid police department like ever? Like, the most security ever? You know?
Right.
How that if that was the case, would that not solve crime? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So yes, DC has the largest number of police per capita,
right,
in the country. So, and so really by that statistic, you know, and we've talked about this, there really shouldn't be any crime in the city at all, honestly. Like, but it's almost kind of like the very definition of insanity. Like, you're going to solve the problem by more armed forces versus trying to deal with the actual problem of crime if you're really concerned. Now, I say this because this is not just limited to Trump, because it's very easy to look at Trump and be like, oh, Trump is being a fascist or whatever. Didn't Biden give more money to the police state, essentially? Like, so really what Trump is doing right now is basically gifted to him. Sorry, like, I'm going to call this out. Like, Biden kind of set the stage for what Trump is doing right now, because Democrats were so afraid of defunding the police, or that phrase of defunding the police, which it wasn't exactly what it was meant. It was like, stop funding the police more and let's allocate that money to better resources that do not necessarily need the police. But it's always like every single time you need a cops or thing, and the cops are not necessarily trained to deal with most of the issues are argued that people call them for.
But we don't have time for rational solutions.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so so just having to say all of that, let's get into it. So this is from, well,
Anzalone.
It was posted in antiwar.com, but the original was in the Libertarian Institute. But it's written by a friend of the show. We should have him on again. So we've talked to him, but it's been a while on INN. But we should have him on at some point. But this is written by Collin Anzalone. who writes, "This is liberate." So yeah, Trump called what he's doing now Liberation Day, whatever. Trump announces National Guard deployment in the District of Columbia. So Kyle writes, President Donald Trump announced that he would federalize the DC police and deploy the National Guard to the nation's capital to address crime in the city. In a press conference, Trump said DC was unsafe, dirty, and disgusting, adding, "This is Liberation Day in DC, and we're going to take our capital back. I'm officially invoking the District of Columbia Home Rule Act and placing the DC Metropolitan Police under federal control," he continued. The law, Home Rule, allows the president to federalize the DC police force for 30 days. To extend the action, he will need approval from Congress, which that worries
They're gonna give it to him, probably.
Oh yeah, especially given it's Republican controlled. So I'll talk more about this in a second. In terms of fighting against this. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help restore law, order, and public safety, he added. The White House is planning to deploy 800 members of the National Guard to the Capitol. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said residents of D.C. would soon see the National Guard in the Capitol. You'll see them flowing into the streets of Washington in the coming week, Hegseth explained. At your direction as well, sir. There are other units we are preparing to bring in, other National Guard units, other specialized units. They will be strong, they will be tough, and they will stand with their law enforcement partners.
Fucking okay.
Trump planned to take similar steps in other major cities, but voiced hopes that some of them would self-clean up. If we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster, the president said. So he also said this, that includes Baltimore and LA. And I said this, and I know a lot of people had this connection too. It's funny how he's going after the cities that are democratically run and run, at least for right now, with black mayors.
Right. Like,
so kind of a slight dog whistle.
Yeah. Like, what about Miami, Orlando, Tallahassee? Like, you know, Louisiana. Like, there's plenty of places, dog.
And Texas City,
Mississippi, you know, like, you name it.
Right. DC Mayor Muriel Bowser called Trump's actions unsettling and unprecedented. So I know you especially hate mainstream media.
Yeah, but get it out of here. Gross.
Had to pull this from Newsweek just to give a little bit more regarding Bowser's reaction to Trump deploying the National Guard. So she called President Trump's move to federalize the nation's capital unsettling on President Monday. I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, we are totally surprised, she added. The move represents one of the most aggressive uses of federal authority over local law enforcement in recent memory and raised questions on the balance between local control and federal emergency powers in the District of Columbia. We're going to get to that because that's key in determining how to fight back. Trump cited the District of Columbia's Home Rule Act in the enabling of federal control for a limited period. At the Monday news gathering, Bowser called the nation's capital a beautiful city, magnificent city, later adding, limited home rule gives the federal government the ability to intrude on our autonomy in many ways. The mayor said she believes Trump's view of DC was shaped during his first term in office, during and post-COVID, knowing the spike in crime during that period. Makes sense.
Yeah.
On Truth Social Monday, Trump again discussed the capital. Washington, D.C. will be liberated today. Crime, savagery, filth, and scum will disappear. I will make our capital great again. The days of ruthless killing or hurting innocent people are over. I quickly fixed the border, 0 illegals in the last 3 months.
Bullshit.
Okay. DC is next. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President JDT. Columbia University professor Robert Y. Shapiro told Newsweek, This is another effort to soak up media attention and to
Correct.
distract everyone from the Epstein scandal,
Correct.
the effects of tariffs on inflation,
Mhm.
ICE's buggish behavior, and anything else that reflects badly on the Trump administration. It is action in
Palestine,
an issue area, crime,
Ukraine.
that is a good one for the Republicans compared to the Democrats, so it has potential appeal. But it's not based on rampant crime, but a couple of recent visible outrageous incidents. It would seem not to have a lot of risk since the country is used to Trump emphasizing misinformation in justifying his actions, but his use of the military raises further the threat of Trump's authoritarian impulses and questions about his mental stability. So I actually want to go back a second to bring up, is it here? I think it's the next one. So what I do want to talk about very quickly is, so Trump is able to federalize the police for 30 days. But the argument that people are making is, does this constitute as what he's doing now a federal emergency? So if Bowser wanted to, she could fight Trump in court for this over, well, because he's very vague. He's basically saying crime is high, crime. But what does that mean? So what statistics are you using that crime is up? Now, I want to give some, because you're not going to, because you're hearing this, DC's crime is down. Yes, but it's still high. Per capita, like, DC's crime is high. However, it has gone down within the last 2 years.
Yeah, you also just have more capita. If you take the surrounding rural area and like add it up, you know, like
Right.
that's one of the crime statistic things I was reading at some point, where it's like, you know, they talk about cities having this, like, you know, the crime is super high. Yeah, that's because they have a lot of fucking people there. Like,
right.
You know, it's a
Right.
concentrated area of people.
Again,
if you take the same amount of capita
right
elsewhere, you know, like,
right. And given, like, and we talked about this recently in terms of DC Council pulling back on tipping, or at least you know, passing you know, giving a living, well, it won't even be living wage, but like raising the wage for service workers. You know, like, DC is an expensive city to live in. And given the tariffs, you know, right now, like, it's hard. People can't afford shit. So yeah, you're going to see an uptick in crime because people are not doing so well. Like, granted, yeah, in DC, our minimum wage is $17 an hour, but you know, cost of living and all the things that you need in order to live, like, they're saying the average, like, in order for people to live comfortably here, I think they said, like, the statistic I found is about $90,000 a year. Like, to give some context, and I'll be very, I make more than $90,000 a year. I'm not struggling by any means. Like, I'm able to pay, you know, for bills and like food and all that kind of stuff. So I'm relatively comfortable, I would say, generally. But that's not to say things are necessarily easy for me either. So kind of putting that in context, even though I make I'm at least worth 6 figures. It's not, and I'm a single guy. Like, it's not been all roses for me necessarily, you know, like, that being said, I'm not complaining given my position. Like, I could be in a lot worse situation, but that's adds to my point. There are people who are living here for way less than me that somehow have to be able to figure out how to survive, and how they're going to do that, you know, like is going to lead to a lot of the crime and a lot of the things that you're seeing in the cities. And plus, me on the real, it's a city anyway. There's going to be a little bit more crime than what you would usually see, again, as you were mentioning, areas. But
yeah,
again,
this is going to go after
the
the
idea of,
homeless
like,
and all that shit too.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's going after the aesthetics of poverty or of the issue, but not necessarily getting to the root issue. And again, this is a distraction of, oh, maybe my tariffs are actually shit. Maybe I should do something about that. Or, you know what? This country, federal minimum wage is still shit. Maybe I should do something to them, especially in light of my red state MAGA following that will probably appreciate it more if that got in. They're not talking about that shit. But instead, they want to focus their attention on Black-run cities. Not to say they don't have their issues, but relatively speaking, I believe, in my opinion, are okay for the most part. You know, but take whatever Trump is thinking, take his distraction onto DC, primarily at least right now, versus focusing on his shit that's actually affecting everybody, but not doing anything to change that. But again, it's the idea of like crime is an issue that Republicans claim to care about a lot. So this is just red meat to, in the appearance of actually doing something. You know, where he could be doing a lot more, especially for his base economically, that he's not trying to do. So I think it's kind of interesting that this is a tactic that Trump is using, rather than maybe instead of doing that, maybe focusing on the economy and actually trying to improve people's lives, especially for the base that supported you. But fuck them, I guess. But anyway, long digression. But just wanted to mention the two things. So let's watch this CNN clip, because I haven't been that impressed with Bowser's response, honestly. But knowing her makes sense because she's kind of being very careful. Like, I don't think she wants to make too much. But again, she was willing to make this much noise against Trump during George Floyd with painting Black Lives Matter in front of the White House. And she was willing to stand up against him for that. But for stuff like this, which I would argue is a little more economic in scope, she's kind of being very like, yeah, like, I kind of have to work with Trump, but like, I would argue in this, especially with this, no, you don't have to. Like, you have to make a stand against him. Appear to be, I don't know, a dick. But I would say for something like this, you have to make a stand. But anyway, let's see the CNN report.
This morning, there are new images of President Trump's police takeover rolling out.
Yeah, maybe a little too much on the old speedums.
Out in the nation's capital, FBI and DEA agents, some wearing masks, bulletproof vests, seen patrolling the streets of Washington, D.C.'s Georgetown neighborhood. And that Trump move is coming all really into clearer focus. Just as it is becoming into clearer focus, it's also raising new questions of which city is next. So first to D.C., the National Guard were seen at the Washington Monument. As well, we've also seen law enforcement personnel with the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Marshal Service taking part in traffic stops, and U.S. border agents on patrol at D.C.'s Union Station, the major hub for train travel there. All of this part of the president's crime crackdown, he says, in that city, a city he's portrayed, tried to.
These are basically all touristy areas, right, where they're deployed right now, at least.
Makes sense.
Right, as being overrun by criminals, despite, again, the statistics and what the math and numbers say, which is the city has seen a 26% drop in violent crime from this time last year. With hundreds of federal law enforcement now on the streets of D.C., the FBI says 23 arrests were made overnight. And according to the FBI director, FBI agents were involved in nearly half of those arrests. CNN's Elena Treen is at the White House for us this morning, and a very different day it is this morning. What are you hearing today?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, Kate, we have now really seen this ramped up presence of federal law enforcement in the streets and really at these high traffic tourist spots. That is what we're hearing from our conversations with people here at the White House, where they want these federal law enforcement agents to be focused. So you mentioned we saw the National Guard. We actually saw 5 armored personal carriers near the Washington Monument on Tuesday evening. This comes out of the National Guard, came in on Tuesday. But then, of course, we showed those images of people in the streets in Georgetown and all of these areas that we know where there's a lot of traffic, not necessarily, though, the areas we know where crime is the highest, places like Anacostia and others. And we've heard some criticism of that approach. So we're going to have to see really how this all continues over the next 30 days, because that is another key question, of course, is how long are we actually going to see this and how effective is this going to be, this entire federal takeover? We know that the president has until mid-September. After that point, the White House has said that they are going to reevaluate what this process looks like. And of course, after that as well, he would need congressional approval to move forward. But a key thing that they're going to be analyzing as well throughout that time period, again, is how successful is this? Because the key question is whether or not this is actually going to end up being a model for some of these other cities we know that the president has mentioned, places like Baltimore, where we did hear the governor of Maryland say that he believes that this move is not necessarily, it's dangerous and it could lead to problems, but also cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, all of that's still unclear as we watch how this ends up playing out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, not mincing words on what he thinks about it, also having served himself. DC's mayor. She has been watched very closely on how this is rolled out. She's in a different position than other mayors are, given DC's status. A lot of talk about how diplomatic and careful she had been in talking about this move by the president and the administration. Seems to be shifting a bit, though.
I think that's exactly right. She's been treading very carefully. She's been very careful with her rhetoric. We've really seen that over the last week. I mean, when the president first announced that he had plans to do some of this, or even just wanting to bring in some federal law enforcement in the first place, it took her 5 days initially before she actually spoke out about it. And then even after he had made this announcement on Monday saying that he was going to be using the DC Home Rule Act to really have this takeover with federal agents, she still tried to argue that perhaps, it might be good to see people in the streets, while also noting that this move was unprecedented. But then yesterday, she did change her tone a bit. Listen to what she said.
We all need to do what we can in our space, in our lane, to protect our city and get to the other side of this guy and make sure we elect the Democratic House so that we have a backstop to this authoritarian push.
Pause there.
So you heard her.
So you heard what she said, right? So basically her response or answer is elect more Democrats to take over the House for next year.
Vote harder.
So right.
Okay.
So that's her response.
They're saying a backstop to this authoritarian push, which he's arguing that the president has been doing here, and also saying that they need to have a change in Congress to make sure that this could potentially be prevented in the future. All to say, very different language than we've heard in recent days, Gabe.
A market shift, that's for sure. All right, Elena.
Is it?
So
how the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot of shut up.
Right. So yeah, it's not what she's going to do, not what I just said that she could do in terms of like possibly push Trump to court in terms of, look, you need to, what do you mean by what evidence do you have that you employing the National Guard what constitutes that as an emergency action? Like, I'll be willing to have that fight with Trump, in this case. If it means fighting for the little autonomy that DC has. But it doesn't sound like, and I did see, I didn't pull it up, but I did see on Breaking Points, Crystal interviewed one of our council members who was actually pushing for Bowser to do exactly that. It's the idea of, you should challenge him in terms of, because he's so vague in terms of crime, like, explain yourself. What do you mean? What statistics? What evidence do you have? To kind of make him look like an ass. But it doesn't seem like Bowser wants to have that fight. She's kind of putting it on the people to essentially what she's saying here. Basically be like, elect Democrats for midterms so that they can take over the House. So she's leaving it to the people versus what she's able to do, which I think is kind of ridiculous. But then again, very democratic in scope in terms of what they might tell people anyway, in terms of fuck if we're going to do anything. You have to do it all and just vote for quote unquote the right people to prevent this from stuff like this from happening. Which I'm kind of like, again, that kind of defeats the purpose of why you're there. Like, what are you doing? So, but any thoughts on that? Given what she's like, I just thought it was very ridiculous. Like, as you said, vote harder.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Democracy simply doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you brought some clips for us that you found on Twitter.
Yeah.
Let's try and catch this up. Let me zoom in a bit. Oops. Okay, here we go. So this is at Incarceration in Washington, D.C. Police cannot force you to show ID during a casual on interaction unless there is reasonable suspicion of something criminal. Highly militarized rogue broken window shit has taken over the scene.
DC.
So this is a retweet from at Wu-Tang's Kids.
Wu-Tang is for the kids.
Just jumped DC Gazpacho already rolling up on black kids, hanging out on their stoop, minding their business, because this DC takeover was always about harassing black of DC. So,
Stoop kids afraid to leave the stoop.
How y'all doing today? Y'all stay in that trouble? You got your ID on?
Hold on.
No, I live right here.
Okay, cool.
It's a cigarette. Did y'all get a call or something about right here?
No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
No.
Right. You don't follow like Code 3, anything like that people are putting up? All right, so yeah, Trump's got all federal agencies kind of coming together for 7 days and going out, trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right? Quality of life offenses, smoking, drinking in public, right? Can't happen outside, right? Most people know that. So we're contacting people, trying to advise them of the law so they learn, right? And then if there's other stuff going on where it turns into there's multiple agencies of somebody, there's a shooting and things like that. So there's extra hands available, right? So we're just out here trying to inform people and educate people. It's not like
look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest? You know what I'm talking about?
I only asked because when you walked up, at the moment you walked up, you only had eggs.
Yeah, well, it smelled like the odor of marijuana, burnt marijuana in the air, right? And you're the only guy that had something lit in your hand, and I didn't flash light you, so I didn't realize it was just a cigarette. So that's on me. I appreciate it.
No, get those lights off! Off!
All right, so just know, right?
They're too bright.
Tell your boys, like, yo, everybody's out, from FBI to park police. Right? So do your thing. Let them know. Don't be smoking outside. Don't be drinking outside, because Donald Trump is tired of it. People come to visit.
Yeah, smoke inside, drink inside.
You didn't know smoking in public was
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
and Modelo would like to remind you to drink responsibly.
Yeah, so DC, it's recreational use as well, right? But you can legally possess up to 2 ounces. You can gift an ounce to your boy, right? So if you had 2 ounces and he said he needed a zip, you can give him a zip, but you can't smoke outside.
Look at no one uses that word anymore, bro.
You can't smoke outside out your own damn house? What?
Yeah, allegedly.
Mouse Dust League is recreational legal in DC. Yes.
DC, right.
Yes, it's legal. So, but they're basically saying you can't smoke outside. I'm like, it's my damn house. So, yeah, I just think this is all bullshit.
No,
I think this
officer,
is just
I'm not smoking anything. Sorry.
Right,
What?
but I don't I feel Trump is doing this mostly, again, it is a distraction. But I think this is his way of thinking, oh, if I kind of address crime, quote unquote, which is what Republicans generally is a red hot topic for them, then it will make me look good. I don't think it's going to work, only because, again, people are going to be looking at their pocketbooks within the next few months. And when they see that prices of basic goods are going up, especially right now. We're heading into the holiday season, basically right now. You know, because everything is going to start getting ready for Christmas, Hanukkah, and all the things. Once people realize that, oh shit, right, all the shit that I've been buying, which was expensive, will be more expensive within the next year. I don't think this is going to have the effect that Trump thinks it will. Like, I think this might be a thing to talk about for the next few minutes. But if the economy is due to go down the toilet as it's starting to, and people are saying it's going to take about a year for the full tariffs to go into effect, you know, like, and I saw like online, like people were complaining about Walmart, of all places. Walmart is becoming more expensive. Like, if Walmart is beginning to get more expensive, we're fucked. like, and that's more or less your neck of the woods mostly. Like, well, we have a couple other clips. So I'm not sure where that clip was based, but I guess it was more residential. But like, as we saw in the CNN report, like right now, the National Guard is being deployed basically in the tourist areas, the rich areas. Like, I would think immediately, like, if anything, they will go to the low income area, but it doesn't seem to have happened yet. But we'll see how it plays out within the next few weeks. But this is from at Comrade Ohio, where they tweet, "This is militarized police state security theater brought to you by the bipartisan imperialist state. Wake up." So this is in response to National Guard has departed from the Washington Monument in the National Mall.
Gotcha.
So just war, National Guards being deployed. I don't think we need to play that because it's just driving.
Yeah.
Wait, come on.
Here it goes.
Oh, I think I skipped a slide.
Like the same slide over and over. We did that one.
Is this it?
We did that one.
I think it was.
This is the one.
This one. So again, but we kind of saw this in the CNN report. But this is National Guard. This is Georgetown. So again, affluent, old DC, like rich. So this is where this is on the main street in Georgetown here. So basically you see they're not doing much of anything. They're just
walking around. Who's this guy?
I think just basically like it's just a way to kind of scare people. That's basically what this is. So again, I think it's funny that they're going in the rich areas. That's the only silver lining. You would think that they will be deployed in like, the problematic areas, quote. So I guess in a way, that's the only silver lining that there is to that.
But this looks like a fucking montage of like, we're fucking, let's go on a tour of DC, gang. And fucking, okay.
Basically.
Like, fucking, okay, we're gonna walk by this. We should probably listen to what this guy's saying.
Let's listen to what this guy's saying, yeah.
Is DC-ing.
First one I saw. So my thought is there's not much going on here, so maybe they're practicing. Come on.
And we're over here. We're gonna walk over, and then we're gonna walk over here.
Trump, you're doing this. Yeah, Trump, you're doing this wrong. Like, you're supposed to go in Black Nation. Like,
right. We're just gonna walk over here. Maybe go get a Starbucks. Like. Also, the quietest I've heard DC ever. Having these guys walk by. Like, say some shit. I know y'all want to.
No, they're not going to. Again, these are well-to-do people. They want to. They gotta keep quiet. again, it's like you saw in the other clip, they've gotten more conversation with black kids or black men.
Fuck,
so no, they're not going to say anything to these guys because these guys have the money to sue them if given the opportunity. So, but yeah, so that's it for this. So, yeah, we're done with this. So yeah, again, it's just a major distraction. As I said, he's doing it all wrong, but like I said, it'll be interesting if this 30-day thing gets extended, as I think it will probably will. And going back to, so you remember when we talked about how I might have been on furlough due to DC, the Congress cutting our funding?
Right.
I feel like that's kind of right. I felt like this was kind of the precedence for what is happening now, because a lot of that funding was partially tied to funding for the police, if anything. So I forgot whether their funding got cut or not, but again, and I know Bowser kind of said this, this kind of there is a correlation between what Trump is doing now and then the funding that Congress took away from DC. They took away like $1 billion out of our budget that we now have to kind of scrap together in order to make up the difference now. But it's like, Trump, you're doing it wrong. You should be going to Anacostia, where the black people are, not Georgetown, where it's just going to be all white people, or the touristy areas where, generally speaking, there's not going to be any issues. So I think, again, it's just a scare tactic mostly, but as a distraction to what he's doing. But again, as I said, I don't think this is going to have the effect that he thinks it's going to have, especially for like the MAGA base who might be rah-rah-rahing this. But once people's monies get affected, I don't think people are going to care about it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Speaking of monies,
any last thoughts? Yeah.
No. Well, I mean,
fuck you, Baltimore.
I mean that maybe,
maybe.
Collin, you know we're demonetized on YouTube? Did you know that?
Yep. So if you want to give us money, scan the QR code you see on your screen, or go to the Ko-fi link you see at the bottom of your screen. Or if you're in the YouTube chat, type in !donate, all one word. The Ko-fi link will pop up and you can donate there. You can also donate on Substack, PayPal, and Cash App if you prefer that. Those links are in the description below. And as we always say, we appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching our content. And we would like to grow because YouTube hates us due to content that we produce. So if you want to support us, the free way is liking, subscribing, and sharing our content. And let us know what you think in terms of this takeover of Trump. Do you think this will happen in other Democratic-led cities as well? Let us know what you think. Do you think this action that Trump is taking is going to have the effect that I suspect he feels that he's doing something within an issue that is important to Republicans, especially? So do you think this will have a positive effect on base to be like, oh, he's actually taking care of the libs or whatever? I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you think. And help us get to free K. Maybe hopefully we can get that before the end of the year. And thanks for watching.